Welcome to Forensic Friday.
Where we examine the intersection of true crime, psychology, and the heart of being human in the middle of it all. So what'd you do this weekend?
Well, Press and I went up to Summit and some friends joined us Saturday and we went to the snow sculptures. I kept calling them ice sculptures, but Preston was like, they are not the ice sculptures, they're the snow sculptures.
Yes, you guys had a little argument that I witnessed about what kind of precipitation sculptures they are.
And then he goes, ice is not precipitation.
It's not?
No, because it's precipitation that freezes.
Okay, Preston, you're so smart.
I
Okay.
know.
Also, Garrett told us two things to not do with our mic, and we both already did it.
What did we do?
I leaned back and I looked to the side, and you leaned back too, and we both did it already.
Oh, I'm leaned back. I
Nat
can't. Come
has a
on.
belly. She has a pregnant belly problem with her microphone.
Yeah.
We need to get you a
Here.
boom arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To where it's
And
like
then we
this.
could have it hang down right in front of your face, like the professionals.
I'd be so annoyed.
You probably would be. I think you might feel caged in by that.
Yeah, I'd hate that.
We like our freedom.
I need to move. Yeah, no, we went to Breck. We saw the snow sculptures. They were fine. There weren't that many.
Well, I really have always wanted to see them, but you're saying it's a little anticlimactic?
Well, what I would say is look up this ice sculptures.
Oh,
The
that's
ice
different.
sculptures are super cool. The snow sculptures were really cool. There just wasn't that many. It was freezing. It
Mm-hmm.
was super cold. And I can't zip my jackets. So this is a problem.
I know it is. And you have such nice winter gear. It's not like you're going to go buy new stuff.
No, I'm not gonna buy stuff that just fits because of my tummy.
Stay tuned. She's working on a patent.
I I am working on a patent.
Neither of us know how to do that, but we're working on
I
it.
know. I'm like, I don't even know how to do any of the things that I want to do with this, but
How hard could that be to figure out? Like, my money's on us. You go to a website, there's probably some
oh,
forms you fill out.
I'm sure the patent's fine. It's the thing that I want to make.
I know we can figure
Because
out.
I can't sew.
Don't tell the people. It's a secret.
I know I'm not gonna tell the
A
people.
secret patent.
Someone will take it.
Yeah, we can't have that. Your idea is much too
I'd be
good to share it
pissed
on
if
here.
someone took it.
You would be. Send a little nasty gram. It was my idea first.
Yeah, and I'd say
Back
you
off.
listen to our podcast, so at least give me some of the money. I should go make the patent now so people don't take it.
That's right. I did literally nothing. I went to my parents' house for a Dateline work date. They had
Nice.
the fire going. It's just glorious. I love being at my parents' house. And we just hung out and did literally nothing. And it was marvelous.
Good.
I know. And then I slept through an appointment this morning, which was
Shoot.
stupid. But fortunately, our
What
client,
appointment?
oh, it was a client.
Oh.
But fortunately, they're so kind to us when we sometimes have something come up, you know? And I think maybe I was
Hmm.
starting to get a little sick,
Mm,
you know?
that's the
I feel better
worst.
now, but I think I needed the sleep, you know?
Hmm.
So here's how Nat and I figured out where we're staying for CrimeCon. This woman booked me somewhere. I don't know, because I was
Yeah.
getting yelled at on the phone. So then Nat and I worked in concert to check all the hotels in the region. And then I looked at four different credit card statements to find which credit card I booked it on, and we finally figured it out.
We figured it out.
I'm proud of us.
Worked great.
So, we're going to talk today about stalking because we have a rip roaring case for you on Friday. Like terrifying.
I know. I'm so excited for all of it.
I know. Well, we're only excited because we like true crime stuff. It's legit terrifying.
Yeah.
So when we talk about stalking, Nat and I actually have had formal specialized training on stalking behaviors, which is really important because a lot of people don't know what it is. They don't know where the line is between illegal and legal. And I think our society has a fixation with controlling things, knowing everything. And so we have to examine that and see what's problematic stalking and what is curiosity about your ex-boyfriend,
Right.
you know?
Yep.
So I have a few statistics to drop on you, Nat, because you know I love statistics.
Okay. Ready.
It is estimated that 13.5 million people are stalked in a 1 year period in the US.
Say the number again.
13.5 million.
That's so terrifying.
That's a big number.
It's so, yeah.
And it's 1 in 3 women, approximately, and 1 in 6 men have experienced stalking at some point in their life.
Do you think we've ever been stalked?
Oh, I'm sure of it. I really am. I don't give a shit because I'm busy and I don't, whatever. But do I think that somebody has ever been fixated on you and I, the work that we do? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
But again, it's a continuum of behavior. Do I think somebody's standing outside my house? No, and don't do that. I love
Ever.
my Second Amendment, right?
Same.
But I think, have people looked us up online? Have people tried to see
Oh,
that kind
yeah.
of stuff? I'm sure.
Here's the thing. If someone looks at you up on Facebook enough or like lingers on your profile long enough, I
Mhm.
think they will show up as someone that you should be friends with. So like if you and I are not friends on social media and I look at your page either enough times or long enough, on your end it'll pop up. I will pop up.
Yeah, everything's an algorithm. Everything we do online right now is funneling us towards more online stuff, which is part of why stalking
Mm-hmm.
is getting worse, I think, is because
Yeah.
we have the algorithm feeding us the stuff we want to see too,
Yep. Yep. Oh
you
yeah,
know?
no, I've had clients pop up as people you should be friends with. And I'm like, we have no mutual friends. That means you looked me up.
Oh yeah. And one of the things that we know is stalking starts a lot when people are under the age of 25,
Mm-hmm.
particularly under the age of 18. So like a lot of kids stalk each other.
Yeah.
And it might look a little bit different than adult stalking, but also I think there's something kind of exciting to the nervous system about like monitoring someone when they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in keeping with stranger danger, the majority of stalking victims are stalked by someone they know.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, 40% is a current or former intimate partner, 42% is an acquaintance. And I think I've told you before, one of my worst stalking cases ever were two acquaintance coworkers, and it was a woman stalking a fellow female coworker over something really small that happened at work.
When was this?
Oh gosh, I don't even know, years and years ago, over a decade ago.
I
Over
mean,
a decade ago.
we don't have to put this in the podcast, but who?
I can't tell you
Why?
because you weren't working with me yet.
But it was coworkers. It's not confidential.
Well, the thing that's funny is most of our career has been shared. So we're allowed to talk about almost all of our cases. But this one was before we worked together.
Well, is it someone I know?
Mm-mm,
Oh, okay.
no. So the context that I met this person is they were in a group for people who have kind of criminal thinking, but
Mhm.
not anything super specified. And I ended up running into several people with prolific stalking behaviors in that group years and years ago, again, over a decade. And
Dang.
so I had to learn a lot real quick. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today are the things that I've learned and the things that I wish I'd known sooner. 69% of women and 80% of men stalking victims were threatened with physical harm. Stalkers use different tactics like phone calls, showing up places. One of the creepiest stalking behaviors I've ever heard was I was working with a woman whose ex just put a coffee on the car, her favorite coffee, and just left it on the car.
That's
Like
so
a year
creepy.
after they broke up, just left a coffee on the car.
We'll be right back. Eye Opening Moments podcast are real life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
Well, I told you about my friend who her ex put a tracker on her car and would show up at random places.
Oh,
And then another friend of mine, her ex-boyfriend scaled her apartment building and tried to get up to her window.
to do what?
I know, right? I was like, bro, what did you think was going to happen?
What do you think? You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Insane.
so even sending gifts, some people think, I'm going to show up with flowers. This will be so nice. Again, if they don't want flowers, it's like consent D.
If they say
Don't show up.
yes, if they say I don't want to see you, don't go.
Don't go. Don't show up with flowers or anything else. If they don't want to see you, they don't want to see you. Don't surprise them. And then also, like you mentioned, trackers. If somebody goes to a DV shelter, their car gets, they do a sweep for tracking devices.
Good.
And I know they should. And we've worked with a lot of folks who've gotten in trouble for that. It doesn't matter if you think somebody's cheating on you. You do not get to track their vehicle, their phone, any of that.
No.
11% of stalking victims have been stalked for 5 years or more. Can you imagine? And that was the case with the person that I mentioned before. It had been going on for years.
That is
Like
wild.
2 to 3 years. 1 in 8 employed stalking victims lose time from work as a result of the stalking. And 1 in 7 stalking victims move. They leave their homes and they move as a result of victimization. 2 in 3 stalkers pursue their victims at least once per week, many daily, using more than one method.
Dang.
Weapons are used to harm or threaten victims in 1 out of 5 cases.
Dang.
The other thing that's interesting is 1 in 3 stalkers have stalked before. So this is a repetitive behavior. It's not somebody gets fixated with one. They typically get fixated repeatedly. Intimate partner stalkers. This is super important for everybody out there listening. Intimate partner stalkers are the most likely stalkers to approach, threaten, and harm their victims.
Dang.
So the stalker I'm talking about that was more of an acquaintance stalker never approached the woman. I truly believe would never have physically harmed this woman.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, got off on causing her a significant amount of distress for years.
Yeah.
But probably wouldn't have harmed or killed her physically, even though these things tend to escalate.
That's so terrible.
Stalking's a crime in every state, but fewer than a third of states classify stalking as a felony. So one of the trainings that I went to was about the changing laws in Colorado. And Colorado is one of the states where it's a felony, even a first offense. It's a felony.
Yeah. I mean, I tell all of my groups that, I'll say like, do not send, like we said earlier, do not send stuff people don't want. Don't show up because you think it's romantic. You'll get a felony. It's a first offense felony. Yep.
So this is the thing that I really want to focus on is what is stalking? So we just talked about all these statistics. What is it? Like what do we have to meet to hit the criteria for stalking? And basically, stalking is a pattern of behavior. So pattern, very important, directed at a specific person that would cause a reasonable person to fear for their safety or the safety of others, or suffer substantial emotional distress. So when the DAs are studying these cases, this is basically the legal definition of stalking.
Okay.
So looking at somebody's Facebook page, not stalking, in a legal sense.
Right.
Sending 10 to 15 messages a day from a lot of different accounts via Facebook, stalking.
Yes. And illegal.
Yeah, that would be illegal. That would fall under this definition.
Yes.
So Nat, when we see stalking cases, we just talked about the legal definition. Can we talk about the different types of stalkers? What are the different types?
Yeah. So what we have listed is the rejected type, which basically just means what it says. If you're if you're
Rejected.
rejected, I feel like I see this most of the time. But if you're rejected, right, and your pride or your ego gets wounded, you're gonna try to stalk, not try to stalk, you're gonna, you know, seek maybe understanding or try to get revenge
Hmm.
or whatever. I actually had a case one time, and I won't go into too much detail, obviously, but I had a case one time where the individual, they broke up and there was like confusion around whose dog it was.
Yeah.
Okay. And the individual who ended up in group, unannounced, unwelcomed, showed up at the place without the victim there,
Yeah.
like, kind of did his thing around the house and then took the dog.
Mm.
And it was because the victim broke up with him.
Yeah.
So that's like the rejected type.
Yeah. Or also, I was thinking of there was a person that knew Garrett and I when we were much younger. And I don't know if this person was in love with me or Garrett, to be frank.
Maybe
Probably,
both.
probably Gary's he's pretty amazing.
Mhm.
But the behavior started getting really weird. And so as we started to put up boundaries, we started to get more pushback.
Oh yeah, it's
And
so weird.
we didn't really get stalked per se that I know of, but it had that
Mhm.
kind of feeling to it. Like the more we
Mhm.
set the boundary, the more it was kind of like, well, I'm just going to do it anyway.
Yeah, no, I've been there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not super fun. This is the one you hear about. Girls can get a little dramatic about this, but you got to listen, even if your kid's like middle school.
Mm-hmm.
This one we see more with boys, but girls can do this too. If there's a fixation, you got to pay attention as a parent because it might be
Mm-hmm.
just female hysteria. He's stalking me, like high drama. But also we know many stalkers start before the age of 18,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we know that this behavior, particularly with intimate partners, tends to escalate. So you got to pay
Yep.
attention with that.
Yep. Intimacy seeking. So this makes me think of like when you show up with flowers unannounced
Oh,
or a coffee or, like you said, someone put a coffee on someone's car unannounced. Super creepy.
well, it's
Um,
incredibly creepy if you're on the receiving end. And people are so confused by this, you know?
mhm.
It shouldn't be that confusing, but they are really confused. And when Nat and I confront this behavior, we get a lot of, I was trying to be nice. I don't
Oh my
understand. I
gosh.
guess I should just not be a nice person. I'm like, no,
Uh,
don't be a weirdo that shows up with flowers when you're not supposed to.
when you're literally not invited, or they said, don't talk to me, and
Or
you
if
show
there's
up
a
flowers.
restraining order and you do it over 10 to 15 to 20 times,
Yeah,
knock it off.
don't do the thing.
Mm-mm.
Incompetent. So this is like if someone potentially has like a cognitive impairment who just doesn't really fully understand and they get fixated on somebody.
Mhm.
This one's really sad because it makes me sad, at least when I see it, because they don't necessarily know that their behavior is damaging. And their
Mhm.
intention obviously is not to be damaging, but there's just something
Yeah.
not connecting that it's not okay.
We see this with celebrities a lot. This fixation on,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, if I could just meet this person, we'd be in a relationship, or we're in love, or you know
Or
what I mean,
or they think they're already in a relationship,
that also can happen. Yeah.
right? And then predatory. This is like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Janine, but
Mhm.
predatory is like when you're in a relationship and your partner puts like a tracker on your car. It's
Yeah.
power and control. It's
Yeah.
very much driven by power and control. Tracking devices,
Hmm.
turning the trackers on someone's phone without them knowing, following them around.
Oh yeah. And I would also say with this, this is where you start to see antisocial,
Yeah.
psychopathic traits come about is in the predatory realm. Like in the book I'm reading, Sociopath by Patrick Gagne,
Hmm.
she literally would go to this one woman's house who had been rude to her. So she was like a music manager and worked with this woman's daughter. And this woman was so rude to her over and over again. And finally, Patrick started going to this woman's house and standing in the backyard and watching her have her evening smoke in the backyard. Like this woman would go out on her patio and she didn't know that this person was literally in her yard looking at her. And that was like fun.
Yeah,
That was
so
really
could
fun.
also be like the peeping toms,
Peeping
the
Tom,
repetitive peeping tom.
or like we're going to get into on Friday, the night stalking behavior,
Mm.
that kind of stuff,
This
picking
is
a
so
victim.
annoying. Yes, where you pick
Sometimes
them.
it's picking a victim.
Yeah, so all of them are really scary, you
They're
know?
really scary. And there's probably different types even than those, but those are the four main ones.
Yeah.
What do you think motivates people to
Mm,
stalk? What are some of the biggest motivators? We talked about a few with the types, but what do
yeah.
you think?
Well, I mean, yeah, going back to the parent control, that's a big one.
Uh-huh.
Just wanting to intimidate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Revenge, again, wanting to intimidate, being angry. I briefly shared, I'm not going to share too much of the story, but I had a friend whose ex scaled her wall.
Unreal.
I know, scaled her apartment
Did
wall.
he
Like,
like pull himself up on the balcony? Like, how
I
did he
don't
do
think
it?
he got up to the balcony. I think they caught it before.
Like Spider-Man? He just thought he was going to run up the side of a building?
Dude, I don't know. This dude
What
was
an idiot.
this dude was nuts.
Mm-mm.
But like that, just being obsessed with somebody, obsession. I think you and I see that quite a bit show
Yeah.
up. I mean, I think we see all three, to be honest, but
Yeah, we do. We do.
the obsession piece, right? I think the obsession piece can go into the intimacy seeking,
Oh, yeah.
and the predatory.
Well, and if you think about
Well,
like,
with all of them, it goes with all of them.
if you think about obsessive compulsive disorder, it's not a stretch to think
Right.
for some people's brain chemistry, this becomes a ritual and a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like You on Netflix. We cannot talk about stalking without talking about the show You.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's such a crazy show.
It's a crazy show, but let me tell you, if you are curious about the internal workings of a stalker, I've
Mm-hmm.
never seen it portrayed more accurately than him. And this is coming from someone who knows. Nat and I talk to people who stalk. We know what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Everything inside, one of the things that he says when he's spying on her is, I care about you enough to stand out here and watch you.
Yeah.
Like, I use my time this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's hooking up with another guy, and it's like, he doesn't care as much as I do. I care the most. I would
Yeah.
stand in the rain to watch you. I mean, it's just a weird
Yeah.
thing, but it's a
So
definite
weird.
obsession,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
Ah, crazy.
So wild.
So then when we talk about the legal aspects of this, like I said, in Colorado, and I love Colorado, and I think Colorado's a her, not a him, because it's so beautiful. So
Mm.
Colorado, she's a warrior. Like Colorado has great laws around this kind of stuff. Now, we've talked about big net for domestic violence, big net for stalking, but the laws are written in such a way that the intention really is to protect people from some of these behaviors.
Yeah.
And not all of the states are written up this way. Stalking is one of the most damaging behaviors to a victim.
Mm-hmm.
It is psychological warfare.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing you need to know if you're suffering from stalking, or maybe if you're on the hairy edge of stalking yourself, is that legal definition. Is it a pattern? Would a reasonable person feel afraid? Is it repetitive? Are you doing these things again and again in a specific way?
Mm-hmm.
Would it cause harm to the person? Are they starting to feel distress, even if it's not that they think they're going to get hurt, but it's taking up their time? Maybe they're missing work because they're having to deal with this whole thing. You know what I mean? You got a problem then. There's real illegal stalking is happening if those things are happening.
Yes.
Okay, there's different kinds of protection orders. Nat and I read protection orders every day.
All the time.
So there's so many different kinds. There's no contact orders, which mean just what it says. There's restraining orders that kind of have different behaviors you're restrained from doing, whether it's drinking or being within a certain distance or different types of communication that's not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
and those can be modified at different times throughout the court, but that is an option. And I would encourage anybody who's being stalked to try to get a protection order. We know that it can cause an increase in risk initially, right? Sometimes people have a reaction to that protection order. However, it makes it so much faster to protect yourself if they do it again. Because if they
Yeah.
show up at your door and you call the police and there's a protection order and that you're at their door, they are going to get there faster and that person is going to jail.
Yep.
So it's a way to take civil into criminal. So if you have a civil stalker, it's
Mm-hmm.
not a criminal offense yet, but it's enough to get a civil restraining order.
Yeah. And then if they break that, then they get a criminal one.
Then they get a criminal one and they have to meet with the likes of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we look at them and go, what's your protection order say?
Mm-hmm.
Step outside of it, I dare you. You know what I mean? You're going to
Right.
go to jail.
Yep.
And we work with them on coping and rewiring their brain and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, Nat, when you look at kind of the connection between stalking and violence, a lot of people don't understand
Hmm.
that they are so connected because stalking looks on the surface, especially not the super scary stalking, but your middle of the road stalking. I'm
Yeah.
going to send a couple angry anonymous letters, that kind of stuff.
Right.
It feels almost like the person's doing that instead of hurting the person physically.
Right. Well, it's emotional violence.
How does that escalate, do you think?
Well, just to start with, it's abusive because of where it stems from,
Yeah.
right? And I think it is emotional violence because it's putting someone in a space of fear,
Yes.
consistent fear.
Yes.
To some degree, I would rather have someone verbally assault me than to stalk me.
We hear this from victims.
Yes,
There's a lot of
because
victims who would rather get punched in the face than get stalked.
exactly, because getting stalked is, and I'll talk about how it escalates, but getting stalked it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing way to put someone in a consistent state of fear.
Absolutely.
So, that's why a lot of the victims we've talked to will say, and not victims to the people that we meet with. I promise we don't meet with both. That's not appropriate.
That's not ethical. We know.
But just, individuals that have come in, clients that have come into our office and they happen to have been a victim at some point to stalking, they'll say, I would have rather gotten punched in the face, or, I would have rather had them scream at me when we broke up than for them to have to do that, or felt like they wanted to stalk me because I was constantly scared. I didn't know where
Yeah.
they were going to be. I didn't know if they were just going to show up or not.
Absolutely.
Um, there's just it steals someone's freedom,
It does.
you
It
know?
really does. Taking somebody's sense of felt safety,
Mm-hmm.
taking someone's security is not all that different than being violent towards someone because the victim is going through the mental process anyway.
Yes, they're already super fearful.
And it's the anticipation. When the music gets real scary in a scary movie, I'm almost relieved when somebody jumps out because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
game on, mother. You know what I mean? Like, let's go.
Finally. Yeah.
But the anticipation of that is horrible.
Yeah.
And that is what stalking is. Stalking is the
Yeah.
moment before the boogeyman jumps out. That's
Yes.
what it is. And it's
Yeah.
horrible.
Well, and then it escalates because it not only escalates in its own behavior, so the stalking gets worse, the person gets more fixated, right? It's kind of like a drug,
Yeah.
it's an addiction. So you get fixated, it gets worse, but it can turn into physical abuse. It can turn into kidnapping.
Yeah.
It can turn into a lot of things that are next level as well,
And wouldn't you say with a a predatory stalker, wouldn't you say, Nat, that there's an element of mental rehearsal? Like in their brain, when they're stalking, when they're hiding in the dark, when they're doing whatever, they're already starting to mentally rehearse the violence that they could do. I could
Yes.
come through the
Yeah.
window. I
Yes.
could grab this person on the way to their car, whatever. They
Yes.
start thinking that. And you see that in that show, where he starts visualizing things. that he might do or could happen. I
Yeah.
think that's sometimes why it escalates too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, they get hyper fixated on the fantasy that they have in their head.
Mm.
Whether it's in their brain a innocent fantasy or a violent fantasy.
Hmm. Victims, as they're kind of in this heightened state of hypervigilance, hyperarousal, we are not built to do that for a long time as people. And so if that system is activated for too long, we're at a really high risk for PTSD, anxiety disorders, depression as the fatigue sets in from all of that. So we see victims of stalking experience a lot of psychological and emotional impact
Mm-hmm.
from stalking.
Yep.
And there's a lot of resources. So I was going to list a couple of the agencies that are helpful if you're struggling with this. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, Stalking Prevention Awareness and Resource Center, SPARC is the acronym. And then there's also local victim advocacy organizations. So in Colorado, we have the COVA, Colorado Organization for Victim Assistance. That's kind of the hub of all the victim advocates in the state. It's how they get trained, and they have a conference every year.
Mm-hmm.
So you can look at those websites, and they have all kind of resources for people going through this, including how to create a safety plan. One of the biggest things to think about if you're a victim of stalking is documenting incidents, and it'll tell you some of those organizations have a format to track those things.
Mm.
It could be an Excel spreadsheet, it could be a Word document, but if you track, you've got to keep track, because when you file
Yeah.
a police report, they're going to say, well, when has this happened? Blah, blah, blah. Depending on the officer that responds, some of them are really educated. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
don't know as much about stalking. The more documentation you have, the better.
Yep.
And then you're putting the onus on the other person to be like, well, I don't remember what happened on December 8th at 9 a.m. They don't
Right.
know.
Right. Right.
You do. You've got a record.
Yep. Exactly. Well, you and I tell people, whether it's people who come in the office or friends,
Mm-hmm.
we say don't block anyone.
Mm-mm.
Don't block them, because then you don't know their next move.
That's true. And I've had conversations with law enforcement about this before where they say,
Oh my
block
gosh.
them, tune them out, don't let them continue to engage. There's some truth to that. But I think as a woman, victims know how to keep themselves safe. Women have a real sixth sense about how to keep themselves safe. I
Yeah,
want to know what somebody's thinking and if they're escalating. So
exactly.
you can work with a professional if you call your local police department, if you contact one of these organizations,
Mhm.
they can actually give you advice on
Well, and
what's the safest thing for you.
exactly. And here's the thing, and I think it would depend on what type of stalker you're dealing with.
That's true.
But if it's if it's an ex, they know where you live and they're blowing you up and whatever, I'm going to be honest, the quote unquote advice I'd give someone is do not block them right now. You don't have to respond.
No, huh?
You could maybe mute the text thread, but don't block, because you might, one, what are their kids calling them these days? Receipts.
Receipts.
You have the receipts
That's right, for court.
for court, and it can help you know, okay, if they say they're coming over,
Yes.
then I know I need to call 911 and get out and leave.
Absolutely. And you can go for a harassment charge instead of stalking, which has a lower threshold. So if somebody's calling, and you send them a simple text message, please stop,
Yep.
right? And they keep going. And maybe you say, please stop one more time. You got a harassment charge. And that,
Yep.
again, is going to create a protection order, an
Yep.
order from the court that says, stop talking to this
To me.
person. And the goal with this sounds horrible. We work on the offender side of things, so please forgive us. But the goal, if you are particularly a woman being stalked, right? Men too, but
Yeah.
particularly I'm talking to the women. You want them to find something new and shiny. And that sounds terrible, but you
know.
have to lay low and stop engaging. If you continue to send text messages and continue to light it up,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
actually keeping that network in their brain going, and they're going to stay fixated on you. It's not your fault.
No.
But one of the best ways to get out of this is lay low, gray rock the
Yep.
situation, say stop, and then
Yep.
wait.
Well, this is gonna have to be a whole nother episode.
Oh yeah. We get fired up about this one.
The baby deer.
Oh, baby reindeer.
Is it baby reindeer or baby deer?
It's baby reindeer. You called it baby deer every time we talk about it, but it's baby
I
reindeer.
feel like I called it baby reindeer last time,
I
and you're
still
like,
don't know
that's
why
not
it's
it.
called baby reindeer though. I still don't know. Was
Um,
that like her screen name or something?
that's what she called him.
Oh, that's so
But here's
nasty.
something. Did you watch that?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, watch it and then we'll do an episode.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's based on a true story. Here's the thing about that situation is he acknowledged that when it would kind of work to get her to stop,
Yes,
he would miss her and miss the attention.
absolutely.
So that's like the other piece of this, my friends, is if you're in this chaotic relationship that's so back and forth and you're like, he stalks
Mhm.
me or she stalks me, and then they finally stop and then you re-engage. This is what Jeannine was saying. That's not helpful.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
just not helpful because you are not only putting yourself at more risk of that behavior continuing, you are engaging in it now. And it actually, like, this sounds really cruel and I don't want to say it this way, but I'm going to say it this way. It actually looks like you are less credible. I'm not saying that it means you're less credible with your
No,
experience, but you look less credible to the court
it waters down your case a little bit if you're
because
engaged.
you're engaging. So, y'all, like, if this is a situation, if you're in something like this and it continues to engage and you recognize your own behavior of like, you know what, when they do stop, sometimes I like will send a quick text or I'll say, hope you're well.
Yeah, don't do that. Lights
You
and
know what? DM me first. I don't
Oh yeah,
care.
absolutely.
DM
We're going
Forensic
AJ.
Friday. DM Forensic Friday, and I'll say, girl or homeboy, don't do the thing.
Don't do the thing.
Okay, I got
Don't
your
do the
back.
thing. Don't do it. Don't do it. Empower your friends to give you a little tough love. Don't do
Yes,
it.
tell your friends, hey, I'm struggling with this. Whenever I tell them to stop and they finally do, I then
Mm.
re-engage. Y'all, just don't do the thing.
Well, and let's talk about the Carrie Underwood of it all. Okay, so if you're talking about vandalizing someone's car,
Mm,
okay,
I love that song.
I know it's a wonderful song. It's also illegal.
It's super
Every single
illegal.
thing in there is illegal. So when you mess with, and I think our society sort of thinks stalking's either romantic or terrifying or somewhere in between or funny or kind of
Hmm.
fun to think about. Well, we think female violence is hilarious, which is a story for another day. But honestly, we are taught as DV professionals that if somebody slashes tires, it's actually a stalking behavior.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean you're going to get a felony for stalking necessarily if you slash tires, but it doesn't mean you won't.
No, but you're also going to get destruction of property.
Well, yeah, and it's domestic violence and all the things. But
Yeah.
if you go and find somebody's car and do something to their car, if you egg somebody's house, if you do anything to their property,
Mm-hmm.
that's indicative of stalking too, because you had to go there when the person wasn't there to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the dumbest thing ever. I remember talking to somebody, and this is somebody I know actually, like not a client. And they were like, well, I just sometimes like to drive by and see if that bitch's car is in the driveway. And I was like,
No.
no, ma'am, that is stalking. They're like, I have every right to drive down the street. I'm like, no, ma'am,
No, you don't. If
that
they
is
see
stalking.
you.
You're putting yourself at risk
Mm,
by doing that. The other thing from a deterrent perspective, we have cameras everywhere. Like my house, we have cameras. We have
right.
cameras on, not on the inside, like weirdos. I don't, some people have cameras all over the inside of their house. That's a different problem. Also, can be
Here's,
stalking monitoring on the
I
inside of
know.
the house.
Here's the one thing I always thought the same thing about inside house cameras, especially if you don't have kids.
Mhm.
But if you have kids, I kind of get it. Like if
We're
I
not
have a
talking about a
nanny.
baby monitor, but if you have a camera that's looking at your living room, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, but the only time I'd ever get it is if I have nannies or babysitters.
Yeah, but you use a nanny cam for that. That's a whole different thing.
Well,
Also
yeah, for sure.
stalking, but you're gonna maybe catch something happening to your kid with a nanny cam.
Well, and I'm going to tell them, hey, there's a nanny cam around, and I'm not, I'm not going to tell you where it is, but we do have a nanny cam. I'm not going to like tell them. I'm not going to not tell them.
Well, yeah. But I mean,
But yes.
but the bottom line is we see that all the time in domestic violence cases.
Mm-hmm.
Cameras are a mess. And typically when I see people put them up, it's not for the nanny.
Mm-mm.
It's typically to
No.
monitor the wife or the husband and what they're doing.
Exactly. It is 100%.
And so that's one of those things that concerns me a lot when I start to hear that.
Yep.
So our kind of call to action for this episode is, y'all, don't make light of stalking. It's actually not that funny. I can't say I don't laugh sometimes when a girlfriend of mine pulls up somebody's Facebook or Instagram or whatever. But if your friends are routinely and consistently doing this, be a good friend and tell them they're not doing well. If you can't let go
Yeah.
of a relationship and you have to look at a profile page every 3 months, go do some grief work,
Yes.
some trauma work, do something, go to a therapist and stop
Yes.
stalking your ex.
Yes.
I don't know what we think we're going to gain from that. First of all, if they have happily moved on, we're miserable.
Mm-hmm.
If they haven't, we're miserable because now they're single, but why won't they talk to me?
Oh, I know.
If they go to places that you used to share together, then that lights up that whole network in my brain of all those memories, those sad memories. Like, just knock it off.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. Just stop.
Yep.
That is kind of the nuts and bolts of stalking. And I wanted you guys to have this before Friday's episode because we are going to be talking about the Night Stalker.
It's a crazy case, y'all.
Yes, we're going to be talking about the Night Stalker on Friday. It's a little bit terrifying, so prepare yourself. Prepare ahead. Hydrate. Get some good sleep on Thursday night. Like, just get prepared.
Snacks.
Snacks. You might need snacks for this
Get
one.
some snacks for that one.
Yeah, I'm not going to share a bunch of really violent, gory details, but it is still pretty scary. So buckle up.
Well, and what I'm super stoked about, and you know this about me, this is my nerd brain. I'm really excited to hear about his history because I know less about that than I do the cases.
So much history on this, and I learned a bunch looking into it.
Yes.
And we're going to really, for lack of a better expression, slice and dice the psychology of this dude.
I'm so excited.
We're going to get in there, Nat.
Yeah. So y'all show up, bring the snacks.
Yes.
And
hold on to your butt. This is a creepy one. Maybe save it for when you're doing dishes or when you can curl up in front of the fireplace or if it's a gray day.
Maybe don't listen to it at night.
Maybe not right before bed. This isn't one to fall asleep to on Friday.
No.
Probably not.
We do have a forensic fan who shared with us that she listens to us as she's falling asleep.
Oh, we love you. Not this Friday.
Yeah, no.
No. Not this Friday. Other Fridays, maybe. Not this Friday. Listen to a happy little mini.
Yes.
There you go. So we will see you guys on Friday for the Night Stalker.
Perfect.
As always.
Bye, forensic friends.
I'm Jeannine.
And I'm Nat.
And as always, thanks for listening and join us next week for more crime, psychology, and heart.